I served, let's see, it would be 67 to 70, 3.5 years. I was married and had a kid, working at Eastman Kodak and attending school full-time as a chemist. It was kind of a combination of both. My Selective Service Board knew I was married and had a kid, but they would not defer me. My number was 74, and they told me I would be drafted. So I talked to the Air Force, worked out an agreement with them that if I get drafted for the Army, I would be able to come right over and go in with the Air Force. And so on the day I was supposedly to be drafted, I actually joined the Air Force. Frustrated. I really kind of wished I'd done it the other way, but maybe I wouldn't be alive today had I done it the other way. Most medics, many medics, did not make it back. Going into the Air Force, I thought I could kind of choose my career a little bit more. And in a way I did, but I still ended up as part of NAM. We lived in Okinawa, Japan for 34 months. After tech school and training here in the States, I was transferred over there for an 18-month assignment. And I was able to get my wife and family over there, which was wonderful. So after a month and a half without her, she was able to come over and join me. And our work there was we flew what they called Combat Apple, 737s. The big tanker was modified with extra big engines, and we flew over Nam and took radio intercepts. So I was a communications analyst working in the security service of the Air Force. Had a top secret clearance as part of that. A few of them. Richard Chamberlain was our neighbor down the road from us. And the other one was, can't think of him right now, Larry somebody, but I can't remember his last name. But we served together there. In fact, we lived just a couple houses apart. We lived off base because we both had our families there. He was the only other person I ran into in the military that had been that enlisted to avoid the draft because he was married and had a kid too. So we were there together with family. It was great, pretty simple, hot. The weather there is 99 degrees with 100% humidity all the time. And I found out it could be 100% humidity and not rain. I suppose those on the ground in Nam discovered that as well. But Okinawa had very similar temperatures. It was quite hot. It was actually during that time I got my call into ministry, so that'd be the memory that stands out the most. It wasn't, surprisingly, the military that stands out as much. But the Lord called me in the ministry while I was in the military. And I knew I didn't want to stay career military. After a couple years, I figured that out. But I did want to continue to work, and so the Lord called me in the ministry, and that was my response. I said yes. That was difficult for them as well, because we didn't expect that to happen. The recruiter told me that they wouldn't draft me if I was married, going to school, and had a kid. That was not true. So I had to go in and serve. When I was glad to do that. I was glad for my service time. It was quite an experience. We were able to make some decisions that saved some pilots, saved some lives. Part of my job was to coordinate the rescue of downed pilots when they were shot down in Nam. And so I had some involvement in that. I wasn't on the ground for that, but getting radio intercept, I could tell them where they were, and then they would send the Jolly Greens in to get them out. Well, I heard it primarily. We didn't get much visual, but we had all kinds of radio intercept. Our plane was fully equipped for that. Once in a while I'd get chased by a MiG coming after us to shoot us down. The plane would do a vertical drop from 50,000 feet down to about 10,000 feet. Depends on how high it was when it started, but it was quite a drop. At the bottom they'd level out, and we could actually outrun a MiG-21, it was called at the time, high performance. We could outrun it for an hour because the engines that we had and because the vertical dive that gave us the added speed, we could maintain that for an hour. At that point, the MiG had to make a decision to pursue us and shoot us down or turn around and go back because he was low on fuel. He couldn't follow us without having to ditch in the ocean, which was certain death for them. And so they always turned around. We had none that continued to pursue us. We were able to talk by Mars radio station. We didn't have the cell phones we have now. And so we would, from a Mars station in Okinawa, we would call a Mars station in the States. They would put it on a phone line, and then we could talk back and forth. That's how I talked to my wife before she was able to come over and make arrangements to get her there. So we did a lot of that kind of communication. You had basically 2 minutes to talk because the next person had to get in. So we would do our conversation in 2 minutes. And the only person I called during that time was my wife. Later we were able to call my parents. When we had the birth of our child over there, I was able to get a hold of my parents and tell them we had a child. And we sent them movies and communicated by tape recorder. Played a lot of ping pong besides work. Started to learn to play the guitar. That's where I learned. Did it by books, and got pretty good at ping pong. Won the base championship. Well, we were there 34 months, so we came home in 1970, and then I went back to school to finish out my education. I had had 4 years of chemistry, and because the Lord called me in the ministry when I came back to the States, I continued my education by taking religion philosophy so I could pursue ministry. No, we didn't have a lot of traumatic adjustments that way. The worst it got from me in Okinawa in working the job that I had was during the 21-day bombing runs that was ordered by the president. We basically were working 12 hours on, 12 hours off. And so I was calling airstrikes in Nam, taking out airfields, those kinds of things, because the B-52s were what we were kind of guiding in and out. And it was during that time that I found it difficult to continue my job, though I did, because I was getting radio intercept of people saying, here come the B-52s, I wonder if they'll get me today. And so we would hear some of those that would never come back on the radio. We heard some of those that were back on the radio. So we knew that we were calling active strikes and making good strikes because they would disappear. No, I don't regret going in the military. It was a good experience. It taught me a lot. I guess one of the traumatic times was right in boot camp. I learned that the first time they raised colors and we were in formation for the color raise. That's a flag going up. when they raised colors, all of a sudden I realized that it could be my life, that I'm here, and if I'm called to serve, because at that point in tech school, I didn't know, or not tech school, but boot camp, I didn't know where I'd be assigned or what job I'd be doing at that point. It was just the physical side of training. And so I realized all of a sudden that this could be my life. I might not come home. At that time, I was in boot camp. She was home with her parents. Boot camp was 6 weeks, and then I was transferred to tech school, and she was able to join me in Texas for that. And so that was a blessing. But I was basically 6 weeks without her, and we had never been separated prior to that. And so that was difficult, as well as the 6 weeks again when I went overseas before she could join me. I guess it was 3 months I was over there before she could join me. We were apart again, and that was difficult. All kinds of shenanigans took place in there, that playing tricks on each other, those kinds of things. We had a lot of fun, as well as a lot of seriousness. I guess you had to have the stress relievers because of the job calling for people to be taken out, those kinds of things. But my job was to keep track of the aircraft that the North Vietnamese had, to know where the aces, those that shot down 5 or more of our planes, where they were residing at, what airport they were at. We would take those airports out routinely, and they would rebuild them. So all kinds of things like that. It was kind of like a chess match. You had to, by the radio intercept, figure out who's in charge of what and where they're at. And like putting together puzzles. So the whole time I was in the military, I was putting together puzzles. I got pretty good at it. Found I had a talent to do that.